Welcome to the Falun podcast, where we're empowering women by starting conversations of living fully loved and fully free.
Welcome to the Falun podcast. I'm Kaylin, and today I am here with Jen Mattson. She is an emotional coach at Organique Clinic and Spa in Wisconsin. Could you tell us a little bit about Organique?
Thank you for having me. I am super honored to be here. I just wanted to say I'm really grateful for that first. I would love to tell you about Organique. We are a holistic wellness clinic. That's where we originated. And I think you guys had Ashley Meyer, our practitioner and owner, on your podcast before.
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. So what does holistic mean? It is all about our physical, emotional, and spiritual beings. It's not that we're just physical. We are so much more. It also means that we are always looking to the root of the problem. So we see symptoms as your check engine light. And so why is your check engine light coming on? Mainstream is all about treating the symptoms, and we are more about asking why. Why are you not sleeping? Why have you done everything to lose weight and the weight is not coming off? Why are you having panic attacks? So going to the root is really where the answers become really prominent and really open. So I believe just like in your car, you're not going to put a piece of duct tape over your check engine light and hope for the best. We want to know what's going on. We want to get to the root of the problem. So that's a little bit about what we're about, but of course there's a lot more, but you can look at the website to see all those kind of things.
Today we are here to talk about emotions. I know a lot of times we like to just shut our emotions off, or we don't like to feel. And so we're going to talk a little bit about why emotions are a good thing and how to work with your emotions appropriately.
Beautiful. So the emotional body. So first we're going to start with a little bit about DNA. I am not much for science. It's not really my thing, but I can try to do my best to bring it in, and then I'll give you some references to help with that. So emotions are inherited, just like blonde hair and blue eyes comes down a core group of inherited emotions. So for example, anger, bitterness, and resentment could run in the family. Some families tend more towards depression and anxiety and worry, but I like to call these our core emotions. These are the ones we're really comfortable with. We've been around with the longest, so we're pretty comfortable being in our own skin there. Each member of the family has similar DNA, but we don't all turn out the same, right? So we might all have similar core emotions, but our DNA is considered the same or very similar, but the culture that we are in produces some different results in each one of us.
So what you're saying is my mom can have different emotions and those can be inherited. So emotions aren't just about me. They can be from the next generations passed on.
Absolutely. Yes. The best information on DNA and how all of that works is The Biology of Belief and Dr. Bruce Lipton. I would send anybody there. He's the master on that. I think for now you get the idea.
So how does that get passed on? How do emotions get passed on? What is it that connects that?
So let's bring energy into this. So I know some people, when you start talking about emotions and energy, and they are all about new age and they think that it's different. It is very non-traditional. That's what we say, but it's actually not. We're the same physical, emotional, spiritual beings that we've been since the beginning of time. Things around us have just changed and we've evolved some. So let's take the energy. Every single thing on this planet consists of energy, and every single thing has a unique vibrational signature. So trees have a vibrational signature, Mercury has a vibrational signature, anger and love, etc. Everything has it. On an emotional level, love is the highest vibrating frequency. And of course it is, because it's where we were created, right? So the lowest scale is shame. And then all the rest of them that we know are in between there. So natural law says energy attracts like energy. If you start with anger, bitterness, and resentment at the core, and then you live with those, like you just said, your mom, and so you take a little bit more of hers on, which is the same energy, and you collect more and more of it, then we go out to school and we resonate with friends and we collect a little bit more of those same emotions. This is where the pattern of relationships begin. And so usually if you reflect back on your life, you can see patterns of relationships whether those are friendships and you've gotten hurt and things have happened. And then the pattern continues, and sometimes with our spouses and all kinds of things like that.
I just want to bring it back just a little bit to frequency. I like to think of it as like music, different tones and sounds. It's kind of a similar thing, like how we relate. It's not like a physical object. It's like a relationship, kind of like music.
Yes.
Emotions can be passed on, but where do they sit?
Certain emotions tend to trap in very specific parts of the body. For example, fear resides in the bladder, kidneys, and adrenals, which we'll come back to that in a minute, why I put that on there. Grief and sadness in the lungs and colon, worry in the spleen, pancreas, and stomach, anxiety in the heart, anger, bitterness, and resentment in the liver. Okay, so picture this. The emotions of anger, bitterness, and resentment, very specific, but low frequency in the liver. The liver is trying to vibrate at its natural, healthy frequency. After years of compiling more of the same emotions in the liver causes dis-ease. This is where the physical health ties in. If the liver is in dis-ease, then the digestive system is not functioning correctly. Our liver is our major detox organ. So if it is not working correctly, where are toxins going? And we're talking more, of course, we could be talking more about more than just emotional toxins, all the toxins, but today we're talking about emotions. So the next best thing is to come out the rest of the detox organs, your kidneys, your pancreas. And then what is our largest detoxing organ? It's our skin. So can skin issues be caused by some kind of emotional stress? Absolutely, along with many other physical issues.
I think of like when we're stressed, how much you can like feel it in your shoulders. You can actually feel feelings in your body.
Absolutely. So if you're anxious, your heart is racing, that's exactly where you're feeling it. Or if worry is in the gut of your stomach, you have that gut feeling of worry, it's real. It's exactly what it's intended to be. Worry would end up in your gut. And so actually it is a gut feeling that you have. So you asked about stress. So do you think emotions cause stress? I would say after what we've just talked about, the baggage that we have or the emotions that we've collected can cause stress on the body. In this country, 90% of disease and illness is caused by stress. So of course, again, there's so many stressors out there today. We're just talking about emotional. So let's talk a little bit about short-term stress and then chronic stress. So what happens in the body when we do short-term stress? The body is designed for fight or flight. So because of real life dangers. So a tiger jumps out of the tree, our adrenals give us a shot of adrenaline that goes to our heart and our extremities so that we can flight out of the place until the danger is over. So it literally shuts our digestive and immune system off, which at the time is fabulous. The physical body is made just phenomenal. But once the danger is over, it goes right back to normal. Okay? So that is not how we live any longer. Most of us are not worried about tigers jumping out of trees and needing the fight for flight reaction quite as often. But that's exactly how we're running our lives right now. From morning to night, we're busy, busy, busy. We go, go, go until we fall into bed at night. And then we get up in the morning and we do the exact same thing. So we have stressful jobs that we hate just to pay the bills. We have stressful relationships because we no longer have any love left for ourselves, much less able to give it to someone else. Society says we are to keep up with the Joneses. The Joneses don't take a moment to stop, become aware, be present, or just be, much less the time to reflect. So remember what I said about the immune system literally being shut off? I think you get the idea. So if we're running in fight or flight 100% of the time, our adrenals are burnt out, our immune system is not working whatsoever. And then we have all this pandemic. Actually, we're right in the middle of that going on right now. This is why I am so passionate about spreading the word.
A question I have for you is a lot of times because of emotions and emotions being negative, that's why we want to shut them off. So how can we see emotions as a good thing?
Absolutely. So they're real. They're absolutely real. So none of us have ever been taught, well, I guess I should speak for myself. I have never been taught in school or actually necessarily from anyone, what do you do with your emotions? So of course we think they're a negative thing. And so some families say suppress, suppress, suppress. That's the best thing to do. Some say wear it on your sleeve and show it for everybody. And that's okay. But we're not taught what to do with those. And so are they negative? No. I mean, yes, do they have a negative vibrational frequency and do they cause some negative in our lives? Yes, but they're part of our lives.
Mhm.
So how would we ever know the good, the love, happiness, and joy if we didn't know the anger, bitterness, and resentment?
Mhm.
We have to find the beautiful, harmonious balance in life, in emotional life, just like we do in the rest of life. The good comes with the bad.
Yeah, I think of some of our episodes before. We've talked about that it's good and okay to be human. A lot of times we talk that, God can't even look at us because we're awful and all these things, but he became human and he is fully human in Jesus. So I think that just shows that it is okay to have all these emotions and be human.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Jen, what does it look like to start working with our emotions?
First, it takes some love and some courage to go within, right? Because some people think the scariest place is to go within. And so that's why we have become so busy, is so that we can ignore all of those things. So the first is love and courage. And so I really invite you to, in a non-judgmental way, go within. The first thing is just being aware of your emotions. Start paying attention to what causes you to react or what causes emotions to come up. Just take a moment, be present, and slow down with that. Another thing is to choose again. So again, loving yourself, non-judging. It's not realistic to ever say you're never going to be angry. Not at all. That's not healthy. So be angry, but then stop and say, why? What's going on? Is this real? Am I making this up? Is this something I need to deal with? Stop and take a breath, walk away from it, and then choose again. So you have the choice always to be in control of your emotions. So if anger comes up, there is no reason why you can't say, I acknowledge you. I am not going to be mad at myself for being angry, but I am going to choose again. And I'm going to choose love, joy, happiness, whatever you choose.
Yeah, I think choice is such an important word because I think love gives choice. I think God has given us choice, and that is something that empowers us to live fully loved and fully free. Like that's what gives us the ability to choose love and be loved.
Absolutely. So the next thing is breath work. So there are a ton of things on the internet. You can find out YouTube or classes near you that does actual breath work. Oxygenating every cell in your body activates the parasympathetic nervous system, slowing your heart rate and creating a feeling of calm. So deep breathing is super, super important. It was one of the very first things that I started doing. This coach that we had come into the clinic, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, the first thing she said to me was breathe. And I was like, what do you mean breathe? Of course I'm breathing. And she was like, no, take a breath. Like get yourself grounded, calm down. And so then I started literally taking big, deep breaths before everything. And it literally changed everything you're looking at, everything you're thinking, and it changes everything that's going on in your physical body.
When I think of breathing, I think of preparing and going into labor. It's like when your body is in the most tense, that's when they tell you to breathe because that's what gets you through and that's what relaxes your body.
EFT is another thing, emotional freedom technique. It's also called tapping. You can remove emotions safely and very easily on your own. That's another thing that you can do very, very simply on your own. Another one is meditation. Meditation is so very powerful. It's a practice. It's something that you should do every day. It brings peace and calm and stillness in the mind. It literally changes the mind and creating space.
I'm just going to interrupt here because I think a lot of times when we say meditation, people go, oh no, what is that? So what do you mean by meditation and what is meditation? Because that can be a scary word.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. So I use a meditation app that I think you said you could put in the show notes at the end. And of course, there's millions out there. Technology is phenomenal for information. But meditation literally means being still in your mind. So you can go and you can get guided meditation. And so someone could walk you through imagery or just breathing techniques. You can use music for meditation. There's many ways to use meditation. And so like if you think of the word meditation and you would think of some person sitting cross-legged for hours upon hours, that is not necessarily realistic to all of us. And that is okay. Like the app that I use for the meditations, my meditations, I work out every morning and then I look at the clock. I know what time I have to be done. And so this meditation app has a timer and I can pick a meditation. I can have 3 minutes today. I could have 13 minutes tomorrow and I could have 43 minutes on a weekend. Whatever the moment you have is so important to take, even if it's just those 3 minutes to really create the space in your mind.
So meditation is being still and concentrating either on breathing or some truths.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, the other thing you have said that really helps is going outside.
Yes, getting in nature. Oh my goodness. So nature has every single thing we need. Natural sunlight, of course, but like we live in Wisconsin and so we are in snow usually, and that's okay. We can still ground to the earth's energy. So what is grounding? Grounding is super, super important. We used to do it all the time because we slept on the earth. We walked without rubber-soled shoes on all the time. We dug our hands in the earth all the time because we were always gardening. And the earth has a very specific frequency, of course, and that is our lifeline. So getting back to grounding in the earth is super, super important. Our bodies are really confused right now by all technology going on, and it doesn't know which end is up. And so there's all kinds of apparatuses to help you with that. But the most important is bare feet outside.
So grounding, I think I've understood it as kind of the magnetic field that's in the earth that is used. Like, why wouldn't that be created to help us? I know I've been like car sick before and I go outside and barefoot and it kind of helps me with feeling car sick. So yeah, I think it's definitely a thing. I think obviously we're talking about emotions and so we're talking it from that aspect, but I think there's a lot of science that backs that understanding up of how the earth and nature, I mean, we eat from it, we get our water from it. Why wouldn't that be created to sustain us? So
absolutely. Grounding is super important for our physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies. In physical, emotional, and spiritual health, it's amazing. Nature has so much to offer us, so much in lessons, and that is what God created everything. We should be out there in awe of the synthesis and the dancing and all the things that nature has to offer us. We create our own realities, so spending time doing things that we truly feel bring us joy in life is exactly what we are intended. That's just another thing that you can do on your own. Self-love. This is a little bit touchy subject, and I know you guys talk about it a lot on your podcast, which is fantastic, coming from all different angles. The first thing that some people think of is selfish. So not self-love, they think selfish. And that's a whole nother podcast. But what I can say for sure is you cannot give love from an empty cup. So many people that I meet with all day long are having issues with their children and they say, but I love them. Love should be enough. But if love was enough, these problems wouldn't happen. But my question to you is, do you teach them self-love? Because self-love is as important or more important because you cannot give from an empty cup. So that's been something really that I'm very passionate about.
Okay, so for helping our emotions so far, we have talked about being aware and present, talked about choice, we've talked about breathing work, we've just mentioned tapping, that's something you could look more into. We've talked about meditation, we've talked about going outside, and we have talked about self-love. What else are things that can help us live with our emotions?
So authenticity, which I think that's what Ashley did her talk on your podcast about. So I won't go into that more. That's a podcast you guys could look up. But getting to know who you truly are and then being able to express that. There's 3 other ways that I have really used to the best of my ability, which is very easy for everybody else, are podcasts. Podcasts are my absolute favorite thing that has helped me the most because I listen to a podcast every single day, every day on my way to work or when I'm getting ready for work. And I really try to be open to all different kinds of podcasts because I believe that we can get something out of each one. Even if I don't maybe 100% believe in every single thing they have to say, it doesn't mean there's some beautiful nugget in there that I could get out of it. Books, of course, there are tons of fabulous books. The best one to start with, in my opinion, on emotions is The Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. So that's a really great resource. And then music. the right music nourishes your soul. And so those are some of my favorite that I hope all of you can dig into, and we'll really try to work on, or try to look into each one of those and then find out what's your favorite there.
Okay, so those are some tips of how to start looking at your emotions, being able to see why you feel a certain way. How would you look at emotions and to live fully loved and fully free? Like, I use some of these tips, but how can I live fully loved and fully free?
So it kind of goes back to all the things we just talked about. Each one of those tips will help you first become aware of emotions and where you reside with them and how they work in your system. And then all of those tips will help you release them. And so the most important thing is to release anything you possibly can that's underlying, causing dis-ease in the body or causing extra emotions to come up or overwhelm to come up because of that. And so taking each one of these tips and working with them will help you really transform. And then what you're filled with is love, because that's where we have begun. And so getting rid of some of those things and then really coming back to our love and our natural state is really then being able to be fully free. And moving forward on these tips, then you learn to replace or all the divots that we have cleared out of negative emotions with positive ones, and then going from there on at a more level state. So again, bringing that beautiful harmonious balance in between negative, positive, and light and dark, and really brings us to a beautiful state to be able to move forward.
Well, thank you for being on, Jen, and I just love how you shared how to work with our emotions.